Good morning, everybody. You are tuned to Computers 2K Now on the Nissan Communications Network. I'm Amnon, your host for the next few hours, along with Spence.
Good morning.
And Mike is here. Bruce is here. Mike is not here. Bruce is here.
I can be Mike if you want me to.
No. Okay. Mike is still, I guess, in Charlotte. Mike married his daughter yesterday. Well, he didn't marry her. He got her married.
Married her off.
You know, being a pastor, I got interesting looks every time I told people that I married my sister and I married both my daughters.
There you go.
They thought I was a kinky polygamist.
Yeah. Our number is 919-518-9773, Computers 2K Voice on Skype. And today's show is being brought to you by that VidBlaster guy, Tom Sinclair, at www.vidblasterguy.com. And the show is also made possible by Bamboozer at bamboozer.com. So we were having a little bit of technical difficulties this morning, but it looks like everything is ironed out. Spencer, you going to go and... Did you say that you're going to go change or something?
Oh, I'll stick around for a few minutes, and then I'll break for a few minutes, and I'll come back.
Yeah. No, it's fine.
I got a late start, too.
I can't help but think that something is wrong. The CPU is down to 50%, and I can't... I don't understand that. It's not normal. But it seems like everything is working. Everything is on. Everything is on. Yeah, wow. Well, I'll take that. I have no problem with that. So we may have. It was a kind of a not good communication this week, but Nish Hartman, the lady from Microsoft, may call in again. Her publicist. I don't know if he did a good job. But I was told him that there were a lot of questions that people wanted to ask her last time, and there was not enough time, so he arranged another 20 minutes. We'll see what happens, but she's supposed to call at 9:30. What is it, Spence?
I was going to say I can only imagine what the questions might be.
There were questions from the audience about big data and stuff like that, so whoever was there last time that wanted to ask her questions, here's your chance, because I don't have any new questions for her. So we're going to have to sort of like take it as we go. Gary, always have something to say.
Yeah, let me encourage the viewers that we have to tweet us, Facebook us, Google Plus us, and let's invite some friends this morning.
Yes.
Gary's question is the kind of question I was expecting to say. This is what would come from
Gary.
Well, just in general.
Besides, it's not Windows 8 anymore. It's Windows Blue, right?
It's Windows Boo-hoo.
No, it's not. No, it's not Blue.
Oh, it's not?
No, it's 8.1.
Well, but that's Windows Blue, didn't they? Isn't that what they called it?
Well,
might be the
that's
code
not what
name.
they're going to call it. It's going to be a free update. It's going to be available in June, and hopefully, at least on the desktop. Forget about RT and the Surface. I hope it shuts the mouth of everybody that's been a naysayer about Windows 8 because it's a great operating system. And once you whiners get your start menu back and boot to desktop, maybe you'll be okay. So there.
Well, that'll be
boy.
good. I mean,
Yeah.
Bruce, can you tell us how you really feel?
Well, it's what they should have done in the first place. I mean, Microsoft, how dumb can you be? Okay, so you're creative, so you're forward thinking, you think this is where everybody's going, but you don't hurt us like a bunch of hogs at the Bryan Meatpacking Company and send us up the ramp to get our throats cut. Give us a break. Don't jerk us around quite that much. So, change is okay, change is difficult. It's like the sign on the church nursery room door that quotes a verse that says, "We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed." You want to make sure you change babies in the church nursery, but sometimes OS babies have difficulty with change, and I think there was too much whining and griping about it. So, but you know how I feel about it. So.
well, no. I got to disagree here. The people voted with their feet.
People voted.
A lot of
with
people
a-
didn't like it, so they
no,
didn't
no,
buy it.
People voted because they were steered by the media. That just every article, just trashing it, and hardly anybody saying what was good about it. What is definitively good about it, and there was all the articles were confusing the desktop Windows 8 with the Surface and the RT Windows 8, and the people who wrote the articles never distinguished between the two.
I think that no matter what the articles were, most people didn't read them. Most people that I talked to that had a bad experience with Windows 8 never read an article about it. They went to the store, the guy said, "This is great," and they bought it. And they were unhappy. So, not everybody.
Well,
but I think
Well,
their advertising has been horrible.
Yeah, at
They
least Bill
show
Gates is
just-
back to being the richest man in the world now.
Yes, I saw
yeah, and
that.
it's not thanks to Windows 8.
No, it's not.
Cheers.
I think
It's his investment. It's his
no, I
investment
don't think so.
Android
I think it's because
efforts.
everything else went down.
Yeah, he bought a bunch of Google stock. That's why he's rich.
Yeah, well. But I don't know. I think their biggest mistake was, and they never made that mistake before, not that I could think of, is that they did not give people the start button.
Yeah.
What would have... They made other companies a bunch of money, like Stardate and all these that were actually selling those apps. But it's a big thing, It's a big thing.
Well, let's give them credit because they actually got to the point where they understood the market that they were missing. They got on board with the concept of an app store. They got on board with touchscreens. They got on board with all the things that they had been missing. It's just that they didn't execute the way they could have. I agree that Windows 8. I've been using Windows 8 now, Bruce, for video capture, and it runs great. I have some issues with the applications. The movie editor that comes with Windows 8 had, and it's a known problem where it would just shut itself down in the middle of an edit, and you had to go back and download Movie Editor version 2.6, which was an older version, to get it to work. But that was a minor thing. If you knew what to do, if you knew, just do a little research, you figured it out, and it's working. But as far as an under-the-covers, elegant operating system, yes. As far as their execution, yeah, I agree that a lot of the press was just absolutely vicious. But Microsoft gave them an opportunity.
That's the point. That it's not that they just decided, you know what, let's toy with Microsoft and tell everybody that it's bad when it wasn't. It was bad. It is bad. It's bad for a lot of people that don't want to have to learn how to wrap their fingers around the pliers handle. They just want to put it in their hand and crimp something. And
So you're saying Microsoft cramped everybody's style?
no.
That's it. Crimp.
No pun intended. No. No, I mean it's tools.
Yeah.
It's a tool. You don't need to learn how to use it when you've been using it for so long and you still call it Windows, and all these years you knew how to use it, and suddenly they lower that bomb on you. You know, it was a mistake. I mean, I think everybody agrees that was
a huge mistake.
The biggest mistake, and that's it, you know. Unfortunately, it's actually stood in their way of selling, and the bottom line is we are always the winners. Any way you look at it, we win. So yeah, now we'll see 8.1. Why do they call it blue?
Because they were so sad when they realized the mistake they made. They were blue.
Oh,
They should have called it black and blue.
They went in the garden and ate worms.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nobody loves me. Everybody hates me. I'm going out to eat worms. Or what's the Hee Haw song? Gloom, despair, agony on me.
Deep dark depression, excessive.
Again, Bruce, again.
Wait, Spencer and I just did a duet. That's the first on the show.
You start and I'll pick up what key.
Okay. Gloom, despair, and agony on me. Oh, deep, dark depression, excessive misery. Oh, if it weren't for bad luck, I'd have no luck at all. Oh, gloom, despair, and agony on me.
Very nice. Oh, man.
Find the harmonies. I just want to.
Hello, Steve.
Good grief, I had to call in to stop it. You're trying to put the viewers up, not put them down. We dropped to 23 now. Stop it, for goodness sake. Hello, everybody.
You could have added the Abbey Lane quotient to the song, though.
Oh, boy.
Abbey Lane or Abbey Road?
Abbey Road, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I knew what you meant. See, we know each other so well. That's the good thing, isn't it?
Oh.
Yeah, what it must be to be a zero on Bill Gates' bank balance. It must feel really good.
Oh, yeah.
Lucky git.
Again.
Lucky git. Oh, sorry.
I don't know. I just don't think that it was. I'm wondering how he gained it back. I mean, not
because
that
the other guy was put in jail, wasn't he? So lost a lot of his investments.
Wasn't it Carlos Slim was the most that was the guy who was the wealthiest, and he passed him somehow. I think something happened with Slim's. I think he got out of a lot of businesses that he was in.
Yeah, because they put him in prison.
What, was he really?
He wasn't able to control them.
I didn't think he was.
That's the thing that I read today. I'm a little bit late on catching up on a lot of the RSS feeds. I'm sure it said something about prison and him losing lots of money because of it. But I think basically he was not a very nice person. So he deserves to not be the richest man in the world. Give it to me instead, because I'm a really nice person.
Okay, take it.
Thank you.
Yeah, see, Tony's got me pegged. See, I was mixing up songs and studios. I was thinking Penny Lane, and so I did Abbey Lane, and so it's not Penny Studios, it's Penny Road. It's Penny Lane, and it's not Abbey Lane. It's Abbey Road.
As long as they've got a zebra crossing on them, you're fine. Well,
so did you guys watch the 3-hour keynote at Google I/O this week?
Of course.
If so, what were your thoughts?
Of course.
No, I watched the whole thing.
You did?
I did. I was with a bunch of guys in Tech and Coffee in a Google Hangout. And in fact, I was streaming it using XSplit and capturing it and sending the audio. We were all commenting about it. I did a little bit of work in between, but it was running in the background the whole time. So.
And so what did you think?
Well, I thought it was a great keynote, first of all. I mean, I thought the presentations were well done. It wasn't the crazy flash in the pan Broadway stuff like Samsung did with their Galaxy 4 announcement in New York, or people jumping out of blimps with Google Glass on, which was really intriguing and interesting. But it was just a real geek developers kind of a keynote, and they introduced all kinds of great new features in Hangouts and Google Plus, Google Photos, the new Google Maps, which I got my invite to. I mean, a lot of really cool stuff. I think after the Google I/O keynote, Apple is shaking. They're nervous, even more so now.
So how do you like their new UI?
Oh, well, it's different. It takes some getting used. I know one or two people who just do not like it whatsoever.
I don't.
But, you can, if you've got a nice big monitor, you can do 3 wide. Whether it's 2 columns or 3 columns wide is depending on the size of your monitor and your set resolution. But otherwise, for any screen or resolution or monitor, you can bring it down to just 1 column if you want that more linear thing. I like the 2 columns. I don't have any problem with it. So it's working great for me. And one of the things I really like is on this Google search now, when you click on the microphone, it brings up Google Now in your Chrome desktop. And so you can ask questions. I'll give you a little example of that, and I'll pot it through so you can hear it. So let's see here. What's the weather in Raleigh, North Carolina?
It's 69 degrees and overcast in Raleigh.
And that's within the browser.
So it's Siri on the desktop?
No, it's Google Now on the desktop.
Yeah, I know, but I mean,
I hate to say that because that will give Apple an idea that they can sue them.
But not everybody has this part rolled out yet. But there is a way, if you promise not to tell anybody, where you can get it now. I learned something new. I never heard of a version of Chrome called Canary. Have you?
No, but I'm not a big Chrome user.
Okay, Chrome Canary. If you Google it, it's got a similar looking icon, but it's shades of gold yellow as opposed to the blue green yellow red icon of Google Chrome. It's definitely the bleeding edge. I mean, it's even more bleeding edge than than beta versions of Chrome. But if you go to google.com to search and you've installed Canary, and the neat thing about Canary is you can install it right alongside Google Chrome. It doesn't replace your regular version of Chrome, stable version of Chrome. So you can choose to run one or the other. I'm running I'm running Chrome Canary right now, and you get new updates usually every night, and it's been rock solid for me, and it's even faster than regular Chrome, and you have the Google search, so
Yeah.
The Google Now, yeah.
Wait a second. Let's see. Good morning, caller.
Hi, good morning. This is Nish Hartman.
Hi, how are you?
Fine. How are you this morning?
Just fine, thank you. How was, besides the point question, how was the weather yesterday afternoon in Charlotte?
It rained a little bit here, but
Okay.
just a few sprinkles, and that was it. It
Good.
was overall a beautiful day. How about there in Raleigh?
It was kind of gloomy, but it was okay. No, the reason I'm asking is because one of our co-hosts, Mike, just married off his daughter in Charlotte, and it was an outside wedding, so we didn't know whether he made it or not as far as weather, but seems like it wasn't too bad.
No, it sort of depended on where in Charlotte they got married, but
I don't know.
I live in the southeastern part of Charlotte, and down here there were a few sprinkles, and that was about it.
Yeah,
All right. What?
I was just going to say, I married, we were talking about this earlier, and I have to let our caller know that I'm a pastor, so when I say I married both my daughters and my sister, you have to understand I was the one performing the ceremony. But I did my niece's wedding in Charlotte. There's an old church right in downtown Charlotte. You perhaps are familiar with. I can't remember the name of it, but it's a beautiful old church right in downtown. I can't remember what kind of church it was, but
yes, I know which one you're talking about, but I don't remember the name of it either. It's right in downtown Charlotte.
Right. Yeah. Beautiful spot.
And that's where you performed the ceremony?
That's right, yeah.
Oh, that would have been a lovely setting, just lovely.
All right, so most of you remember Nish. She called in, but 2-3 weeks ago?
About 2 weeks
Nish
ago.
is
Thanks for having me back.
And you're a principal healthcare solutions strategist at Microsoft, focusing on application platform for enterprise accounts. And you've been with Microsoft for over a year. And prior to that, healthcare account. I mean, every time I say healthcare, you've been the account manager and strategic channel manager at Oracle.
Yes.
So there were a lot of questions in the chat last time. I don't remember what they were, but let's just start. Let's start with the questions to get you rolling again. Since you have a few more minutes, we've probably already burned them. Tell us again, what is big data that you're talking about?
Sure. I think that's a great place to start. We can review over some of the highlights of what we talked about a couple of weeks ago. Because big data is one of those terms that has a lot of buzz going on in the industry right now. It's really a term that's used to describe the process of applying serious computing power, the latest in machine learning and artificial intelligence, to seriously massive and often highly complex sets of information. So there's no limit to the kind of data that can be evaluated, which is great for businesses. However, people really drive big data. And we find that as we talk with a lot of businesses, it's become more of a religion than a solution. It's that ability to pull together, to bring together different types of data, structured data, relational and non-relational data, and then run metrics against the data for patterns, for statistics, and probability. And I think one of the points I was really trying to get across yesterday from an organization and a business perspective, not yesterday but 2 weeks ago, was that we're seeing that there are lots of ways that businesses use big data. Many times the business will go to IT and say, we need a big data strategy. And so they'll look for and create and design the largest bucket of big data. And then IT will go to the business and say, well, what kind of data elements do you want? And what can happen is that it can just grow and grow and grow and become this just big electronic trash can. So it'll be very much like a house that you build where the only constraint is the price. Real big data is when you take a look, you take a business line and a focused approach, and you pick a business problem that needs to be solved, and you come up with design ways to solve it. So that's the focus here, is that you can accumulate so much data, but what you want to do is to say, how am I going to use that data to help me accomplish my goals or to solve business problems? Now, I will offer up one of the things that came up in our questions a couple of weeks ago was the question around cost. And so I thought we could explore that a little bit more, because access to data storage and the computational tools that you use to manage and analyze data has traditionally been held by just a very few people because of cost and technology limitations. That's been a real bottleneck for innovation, but that's all starting to change. And what we're seeing now is there's a huge positive upside. So the two most important trends that are changing around this big data landscape are the economics. The cost of the hardware needed to acquire and store the data has dropped significantly, and the technology advances. So there's new computational models that are helping organizations make better sense of their data through machine learning, and mass-scale distributed computing and storage on these commodity boxes is a very, very cost-effective thing. So what's really key here is that you've got the advanced tools to be able to extract out oceans of information, and that you have the people with the advanced skills to use that. What we're finding from Gartner is that by the year 2015, organizations that build a modern information management system will outperform their peers financially by 20%.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that incredible? And I'm prepared to share with you some other personal examples that I'm aware of how those advances are being made, not just in healthcare but in other industries as well, and even within Microsoft too, if the listeners are interested in hearing some of those.
Well, there are two questions here. One is, did this have a lot to do with? I know how is this going to affect the healthcare industry? And the other question is, how did Bill Gates gain his the richest person in the world again?
Oh, well, how did he become the richest person in the world again?
Again, yeah, he reclaimed it. No, but how is this? How is big data, or how has it impacted the healthcare industry right now? And what are we going to see? And is this going to have any impact on what we call, when you tell people healthcare, right away they think about what's his name care.
I got you there. Okay. Well, at Microsoft, our goal of big data is to make people healthier. Right. And in the largest healthcare organizations as well, the goal, you hear people talk about the triple aim, which is the goal of making people healthier, reducing cost, and reducing the barriers to quality care. And so some ways that's going to happen is that big data can help identify patients at risk before they even walk into the emergency room. It allows us to take a look at the patient from 360-degree basis, so not just looking within the four walls of the hospital, but at the patient after they leave the hospital, and helping the patient with the caregiver team, the physician and the nurses and the case managers and the navigators who work with them, really focus in on wellness and keep track collaboratively of their own personal health record, taking content from devices like Fitbits and pedometers and glucometers and Connect even, and spirometers, and getting all of the feedback from those devices into a personal health record so that a physician can see, oh, okay, I'm working with this patient who has diabetes. I know that they need to be on an exercise routine. I can track through their Fitbit how they're doing with their exercise routine, or I'm working with a COPD patient and I want to ensure that they're getting in a 6-mile walk, and I can track how they're doing that through Connect or through their Fitbit as well. So it's taking the information from all those different devices, because again, big data is about taking that structured and non-structured data. Another example of how it can help in healthcare is really one of the futures of big data, and that's taking it from the analytics and not just looking at a rear view mirror, but looking forward thinking, and that's what we call predictive analytics. So the idea is to be able to take analytical data from a hospital system and to be able to predict outcomes. So an example of that, if you have patients who are in the hospital, you can, through big data, analyze which of those patients within the hospital are at the highest risk of being readmitted to the hospital, even before they've left. So before that patient is discharged, they're in the hospital, perhaps there's some consideration about being discharged based on the data, which ones are at high risk for coming back, and then determine which factors affect the risk of being readmitted. And so those factors could be perhaps if the providers extended their length of stay for another couple of days, or adjusted their fluids, or worked on reducing the cholesterol. And then the caregiver team, the physician and the nurses, can make changes while the patient is still there. Now, the great thing about this is that then it reduced the risk of the patient having to go back into the hospital, which is something none of us want to do. It reduces the cost to the hospital as well, and it improves the patient's outcome. So that's an example of how big data can be used in healthcare. I do have one more to share with you from a Microsoft perspective, if I can, just for a second. This is really a cool project, if I can take a minute. The Microsoft campus in Redmond is like a small city. It's which in Redmond is right next to Seattle. So there's 145 different structures, different buildings all throughout the city, and they're connecting all these different devices, right? All these different points like fire and security and elevators and lighting and energy and air conditioning units. And so with managing all of these devices and the data coming out of that, Microsoft found that we had all these disparate systems out there that were collecting information from these devices, and that there was no way of really being able to analyze where the largest energy costs were for the company. So we started an initiative called a Big Data Smart Energy Pilot. And so we identified 15 buildings, and the whole idea was to use big data to reduce energy and to optimize our assets and our efficiencies. And so what we did was to lay a big data solution over top of the Microsoft stack, and we track things like, people going in and out of elevator doors, and then the systems that were controlling the buildings. And we found as we monitored that and then predicted where there might be energy efficiencies, we were able to determine problems like outside dampers were stuck, or there was a leaky chiller valve, or there was a garage exhaust fan that had an override. Well, to net that out over an 18-month period, we saved $1.4 million by collecting all of that big data information. In fact, that whole pilot now is going to be highlighted on the Discovery Channel called Smart Cities of the Future, and that'll be hosted by Stephen Hawking. So it's just really cool example of how you can use big data, and one that can be used in any industry.
Bruce, you had a question?
Yeah, I do. I'm really glad that you got to come back on this call, because I was not able to be here when you were here before. My name is Bruce Turner, and I work for a healthcare company, and specifically we are a healthcare company that received exemption in the Affordable Health Care Act, so that people who participate in our healthcare program are not penalized as not having insurance, although we're technically non-insurance. We're a 501c3 not-for-profit bill-sharing type of a program, a co-op, if you please. It's interesting. There are a lot of people who are, we've set, every month for the last 7 months, we've set yet another record as far as applications and new joiners for our program. And there are some people who are obviously concerned about, government health care and what form that will take. Data is an incredible thing. I know one of the parts of the Affordable Health Care Act is to move providers to a more digital-based record-keeping system. That's one of the ways they can save tons of money instead of using some of this old archaic filing cabinets and papers type of methodology. So I think it's going to really, really be good there. But some of the people that we talk to have concerns about privacy. And I love big data. I love on my Chrome browser now, I've got this Google Now like I have on my Galaxy Note 2 phone. Things like Siri, where you can ask questions and it just goes out into this huge world of data. And even, as you were saying earlier when you introduced yourself, can even kind of think ahead of what I might want to ask based upon what I've been searching for and things like that. But there are some concerns in the healthcare debate about privacy of some of this information, about insurance companies rating people based upon things like what they post on Facebook, their drinking habits or their eating habits and those types of things. What are your thoughts on privacy related to big data and healthcare? I mean, you could go to an extreme, and I don't go to this extreme, but there's some people who, want to make a big deal about what's referred to as death panels, people who will be making life and death decisions for, let's say, senior adults and the quality and quantity of healthcare they receive. So, what kind of safeguards are there regarding privacy with all this big data?
I'm sorry, Bruce, you're breaking up a little bit. I can't tell if it's the phone on my end or the phone on your end. But I think you were asking about privacy and security and safeguards in regards to big data. Was that the gist of your question?
Yes, especially in regard to insurance companies rating people based upon things they post about their eating habits, their drinking habits on, even in social media and things like that. Yeah.
And there's certainly HIPAA regulations, right, that give the individual patient, certainly control over what's accessible in their own personal records and what is not. We're finding, even as we're looking at big data and how the data is stored, that many of the healthcare companies that we work with are, looking at anything from on premises, meaning you're keeping the data on site with the client, to a cloud-based solution, to something that's sort of hybrid solution where you have, say, part of it on premises and part of it in the cloud. At Microsoft, we're very committed to security and privacy and have been one of the leading companies to put something in place called the Business Associates Agreement to ensure that we're following through those privacy protocols, so to speak. I think that there are also tools that are accessible to patients that give them control over their own, let's call it a digital healthcare record, and whether they want that accessible to other agencies. I think on the call a couple of weeks ago, I referenced briefly a tool that's provided for free from Microsoft called HealthVault. That is the patient's tool. That's their own particular health plan. They can make that available to the caregivers. They can make that available to their own family members and friends, but it's their responsibility to decide who they have access to that data.
Jerry in the chat is asking, has anyone really used this to improve health, though?
Has anyone used this to health? Absolutely. In fact, both payers and providers, meaning hospital systems as well as insurance companies and other types of wellness companies, have used big data for all of the examples that I've talked about here. Now, I think that the innovations are just starting. I think we're just starting to see the tip of the spear, and I think that with the right analytical tools, a lot of the ability to just determine what types of questions need to be asked and what problems to be solved can be taken to the individual level as well. There's, especially with some of the tools that you have, even with access to Excel. So I think we're just starting to see the tip of the spear. And so I know our time is running out here for this conversation, but I guess, I would say that in summary, I think the biggest question is decide what question you're answering. What business problem are you solving with big data? And then take small iterative steps towards that instead of trying to boil the ocean. And then I also think that looking at predictive analytics and not only using that rear view mirror approach where you're analyzing the data that you have now, but looking at what if and predicting the types of outcomes that you see based upon the data is certainly a direction that we're taking now in the future.
Spence is saying here, in short, he said, I'm not worried about the actual system that contains the data. I'm worried about the people who are allowed to access it. And he puts, think IRS. And that's a problem, is who's accessing. And I guess this has to be worked out. And I know.
Well, it's
Spence,
with the best of intentions, you might have the most secure system on the planet. But if you have people who access it, who abuse the data, doesn't mean anything.
Yeah,
it's not Microsoft's issue.
Spence, the reason I read it is because Nish has to leave, and I wanted to make it real fast, to bring it to her attention what you were saying. But Nish, thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It was great to talk with you, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
You too.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. Yeah, we couldn't just keep on elaborating and talking about it because she had to leave.
Yeah, Spence, go ahead, because I'm.
Now talk
totally
about it.
Well, we're getting people. A lot of people who are calling our company and the other two like ours that received exemption in the Affordable Health Care Act are calling because they're concerned about issues of privacy, and they're asking us outright, "Are you going to be reporting our medical data to the government database?" And of course we do not. Of course, that doesn't mean that the providers they use aren't going to do that as well. But my concern, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I think big data, as I put in the chat, is great, but as with all technological change, it must be handled carefully and with diligence. I guarantee you, in the same way that employers are harvesting data from your social media life and making hiring decisions, that this type of data is going to be used in the area of healthcare as well, and it's a legitimate concern. So,
absolutely. Go ahead. Sorry.
No. So big data is great. I love it in a lot of ways, but I'm beginning to get to the place where privacy really doesn't exist anymore in the world we live in.
No, I agree. I think that having your medical records available, if you're traveling and you have a certain special situation and you get injured in an accident or something happens to you when you're away and they can call up those records, that's wonderful.
Yep.
But it's obvious with any government entity, I don't care, politics aside. People are people. Information is going to be abused. It's just take it for granted it's going to be abused.
Yep.
It's we've already seen. It's just the tip of the iceberg now with some of the scandals that are coming out. It's a government thing. It's not this administration. It's not a political party. It is the government in general. People will abuse the access that they have.
Right. I'm looking at this. Well, let's for a second think. The big data is still being gathered, but think about Fort Knox, all of our worth, right? If that was out there in the middle of Main Street, and there were different places that could actually go and touch it, how long before it would be depleted? It's just human nature. I mean, people will use it. Some agencies will probably go and tap into it and use it for their own gain somehow. They'll figure out. I mean, data is money, and before you know it, it's. I agree with Bruce. There's not going to be any more privacy.
And the shame of it is that if you're harvesting information from Facebook, this is public things. These are things you put out there that
right.
You can have no expectation of privacy. Your healthcare records, however, every time I go to the doctor, or a new doctor, or go, each year I have to renew that contract I have with my doctor for HIPAA to say I understand confidentiality. Here are the only people I can release information to. This is confidential data. This is not stuff. I don't put my medical records on Facebook, right? It's the abuse of power and how it will be used, and I fear for what's going to happen in the next couple of years, because I'll go to apply for whatever plan is available to me, and they'll be able to look up. Oh, well, you had this operation in 2013, and we see that your family history shows that you have this or that, and okay, your premium is going to be this.
Mm-hmm.
Or we deny you, or whatever. I mean, supposedly that's not supposed to happen with the new
supposedly.
law.
But here, let me show you something about how my take on one little thing here. What do they tell you to do with your Social Security card in order to stay safe?
Stick it on the refrigerator?
No, really. What are you supposed to put it in your wallet?
I don't carry mine in my wallet.
I read somewhere that they said leave it at home. You don't need to carry it because it has your Social Security number on it, and if you lose your wallet, that's bad.
You want to hear my idea, my thought, and it just happened?
Yeah.
I lost my Social Security card, or misplaced it 30 plus years ago. Never bothered to go get a duplicate or replacement.
Uh-huh.
But I know my Social Security number.
Yeah.
It's right up here.
Right. Yeah, that's
and of
fine.
course, it's on my 1040 forms for Social Security if I were to have a.
My point was, they tell you to keep the card at home, and I read it somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I just got on Social Security. Medicare. Guess what's the number on the card?
It's your Social Security number with a couple extra digits.
And where are you supposed to keep that card?
In your wallet.
On you. Now, what in the world?
There you go.
This is so stupid.
Yeah, UB3RG 3K. He's talking about his Army serial number. You know that I can still remember that?
I remember mine. Yeah.
B348790.
978-453.
That's Uber Geek in geeky speak. The threes are e's.
Okay, I got Uber Geek.
I still
Uber
remember
Geek,
my
yeah.
CIA number. Oops, sorry.
Yeah, I can remember my old SAS number. Oops. I'll have to go and kill myself now.
919-518-9773. Computers took a voice. Sorry, Steve. Go ahead. Finish.
I said I can remember my SAS number. Oops, I'm going to have to go and kill myself now.
So, there's this tension in all of life as we improve and grow, that there is a moral component. There is an integrity component. There is an honesty, a values-based component to all of this technology.
Let me interrupt you for a second. Nick, why don't you call Computers 2K now?
Alrighty.
All right. Go ahead, Bruce.
Yeah, so you might would expect me to say this, but the the deal is that there's always a value-based component to all technological advancement. Take nuclear energy. I mean, there's got to be some respect and appreciation for life and society and everything to govern the use of such power. And it's the same thing with this kind of technology. There has to be some thought given to what's the right way and the wrong way, because there are rights and wrong ways. You know, I don't care what anybody says. I'm not a subscriber to the kind of thinking that says, you know, what may be right for you may be wrong for me. What may be wrong for me may be right for you. I do believe that there are some absolutes. Otherwise, this building that I live in, the walls wouldn't stand. I mean, there's measurements and you know, systems for doing things and keeping things orderly. So, I mean, I'm just saying that, you know, I love technology. I love the advancement. I love the way it can be used for good. But you also have to keep in mind that these things can be used for bad. And by the way, if banks can be hacked and your credit card numbers can be gotten, you better believe that all of this private HIPAA-related information could be hacked as well.
Of course. I mean, and it will be. People will make it a profession. Mm-hmm. They'll have courses in school about breaking into HIPAA.
And the governments and organisations have proved time and time and time again that if it isn't going to be hacked into because it's not secure or they aren't sensible enough to do that, then they leave their laptop in a taxi or on the tube or on a thumbstick or whatever, and it's gone anyway. I think the idea of the principle and the idea, I think, of having is lots of information that you can then cross-reference and correlate to predict, health issues and things like that. It's a fantastic idea, and it's going to be to the benefit of mankind overall, because you're catering for things that you can now predict because of certain patterns and stuff like that. But as we all know, and I think deep down everybody really realizes that it's so open to abuse, and it is going to be abused. There's no question about that, because it's been proved over and over again that if information is out there, somebody's going to get into it that shouldn't have got into it, and we use it for nefarious purposes. That's the thing that everyone is in the back of their mind thinking, yeah, I don't mind them having this if it's going to benefit myself and mankind generally. But it isn't going to be secure, and there's nothing you can do to make it secure. You're not going to satisfy me that what you've done is made all my information secure so that the numpties can't get hold of it.
Well, but the government has a 12-point plan that they're going to implement over the next 5 years to assure that your information is held confidential.
Sounds impressive, but they're lying.
Actually, no, it's a 15-point plan.
Really?
Yeah.
They're always one step ahead, aren't they? We've got this program over here called Fake Britain. And I was just blown away the last few weeks since I've started watching it. The counterfeiting and the fake medicines, the fake everything that they're making now. Get cheap rip-off in China, then shipped in. A lot of it's caught at customs and things. But, they've got identical packaging, identical instruction manuals and insurance certificates and guarantees and everything else, and it looks identical. It's only when you open the item or go to use it that you then realise that, well, this doesn't seem like it's quite right. It really is scary to think what they're doing. I mean, there's Viagra and there's all sorts of medications that are being counterfeited and then sent in through in boxfuls, hundreds of thousands of tablets that people are ordering, mainly because they can't afford them on healthcare, because you've got to pay over here. You've got to pay per item. So if you have 30 tablets of one type and you've got 30 tablets of another type, well, that's 2 items you have to pay for. So 2 lots of fees. I think in America you've got the same sort of thing where you've got to pay for each individual item that happens to be prescribed or ordered for you, as it were. But it's it really is frightening to think the level that it used to be organised crime in respect of big drugs and things like that, heroin, cocaine. They actually make tens of times more money now by doing genuine drugs than they do by this, cocaine and heroin and the hard drugs. It really is scary stuff.
Yep. Of course, you know who's going to, in the States, you know who's going to pay for it. That guy in the upper right.
Nick,
poor Nick.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning,
Good morning.
Nick.
How's everybody doing?
Your audio is very low.
Really? Is it still low?
Oh, yeah, now.
Alrighty.
Yeah, you know you're going to end up having to pay for all the stuff that's going on here.
Yep.
Well, the thing is, I think our generation would have been, not necessarily everybody in the call here or indeed who's listening, but I think the majority of people have been too complacent, thinking, well, somebody else will sort it out, and, well, that's not really going to affect me. And then all of a sudden it's like, bang, 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 there's lots of things all happening all at once or in very close proximity that makes you think, damn, why didn't I stand up and say something earlier? Because now it's too late.
Too late. So what's going on, Nick?
Smell the coffee.
Not a whole lot.
So the show went pretty good yesterday.
It did. It was fun.
Yep. Did you have a chance to chat or talk with Mike?
Yeah, I talked with him yesterday morning.
Yeah, but I mean after that, after the show.
No. Oh, yeah. I talked to him right after the show.
Okay, so you still don't know how the wedding went?
No, I haven't talked to him
all right.
since yesterday morning.
They haven't released them from jail yet, so we don't know. They're still being held in the tank overnight.
Very
they might
funny.
be processed. It's
Very
Sunday, so it's
funny.
slow processing them out.
Very funny. All right, let's see. What else do we have here? Java. And the article goes, it's no secret that Java has moved to the top of the target list for many attackers. It has all the ingredients they love. Ubiquity, cross-platform support, and best of all, lots of vulnerabilities. Malware targeting Java flaws has become a major problem. The new statistics show that this epidemic is following much the same pattern as malware exploiting Microsoft vulnerabilities has for years. Research from Microsoft shows that there has been a huge spike in malware targeting Java vulnerabilities since the third quarter of 2011. And much of the activity, that means maybe that Microsoft is getting better, so they're going on something else. And much of the activity has centered on patched vulnerabilities in Java. Part of the reason for this phenomenon may be that attackers like vulnerabilities that are in multiple versions of Java rather than just one specific version. Again, why do we need it? Why don't we just uninstall it? This is not JavaScript that a lot of the web is running on and uses almost in every web page. This is Java.
I can't uninstall Java.
You cannot?
I can't. I play games that require Java.
Okay.
And I run apps that require Java.
Oh.
I do the same. I have web conferencing. In order for me to be the presenter, if you're just a participant in a web conference, you don't need it. But if you're presenting in a web conference, you need Java in order to support the app.
Okay, for the average user who uses the computer for going on the web, checking mail, do Office, write a letter here, do a spreadsheet there. I mean, if you don't have it, it'll come up and say, you need to install such and such. Then...
Now I know another site that everyday people use that requires Java.
Which?
It's called KeepVid. KeepVid.com. It's a YouTube downloader that requires Java to download YouTube videos. And I use that almost daily.
Interesting. See, so there are some.
Yeah, there's sites like that. I mean, uninstalling Java would just be. I mean, obviously there's security vulnerabilities with it, but with the dialog boxes that you get on Firefox, Chrome, and everywhere else, I don't really think it's an issue. I mean, if you go to a site and it wants to run Java and you're not trying to do anything that you know requires Java and you don't run it, then there's no issue, right?
Right, and my point is, if you don't have it installed, the browser will tell you. You need Java. You need to install Java. So I would say go ahead and uninstall it unless you know for a fact that you need it. And wait until you're told that you need it. And at that point, you have to make a decision. Well, somebody just told me to go to this site to see something. They want me to install Java. Is it worth it? Nah, it's not worth it. Never mind. I'm not just not going to. But when
and the same thing can go if you have it installed, because if you go to that, if somebody sends you, if you send me a link to a site and it pops up a Java dialog, and I go, well, this site looks a little sketchy, then I'm just not going to run it.
Right.
So I don't think that uninstalling it is really
necessary.
The issue, because and I don't think that's the issue, because if you do uninstall it and then you need to reinstall it, I mean, there's so many things on the web that use Java that, you know, uninstalling it's only part of the problem. Once you have it installed, because you know maybe your bank uses it or something else uses it, then you need to worry about worrying about how to use it properly and not run it on every site that asks you to, and only run it on certain sites, which you can do. With like there's a Chrome add-on that you can set what sites will only run Java, and of course I do that because it's obviously it's a vulnerability.
I think the biggest issue with Java out there is that people don't understand the exploit danger and don't keep it up to date.
Yes.
So,
Bruce, how much
just isn't a consciousness of that out there?
How much of Java do you get? Do you need in the course of what you're doing?
Well, I mean, your point about the difference between Java and JavaScript is important to understand too, to give clarity to the thing. And I don't know, maybe Spencer would know this because he's in the field, but all of our calls are recorded for quality assurance, and there's a website or thing called Calabria where we can log in, and in order to search calls, find calls, it uses Java, and then we can play them back. Is that JavaScript or is that just Java, Spencer? Do you know?
Do you get a dialog box that comes up that says, "Would you like to run Java?"
I get a dialog box that comes up at least once a week over the last month saying there's some security issues. There's a new version.
Yeah,
of new
that's the actual Java.
But when you're on the site, like when you're on that site and listening to the calls, do you get like a little dialog box that asks if you would like to run Java?
Initially, I did, and I said yes. Run it on this site, on this page all the time.
And that's Java, not JavaScript.
Yeah.
And if you see, you may see the Java icon come up as it's loading. It'll show the Java logo and have their little wheel spinning as the app loads.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the difference between having a thin version of Java and having the actual Java app itself running in natively on your machine, not necessarily in the browser. And then there's runtime also, which is just a smaller version of Java, which is probably the one most people should use if they can, instead of loading full Java. You go to Sun and you get, or not Sun, so it's Oracle now, but you go there and you get so confused as the different versions of Java that are out there. Which one do you want? SDK? Do you want this? You want that? So from a lot of people, it's very confusing.
I'm going to put a picture in the chat room, and that's what a website Java dialog box looks like. It looks like a Windows dialog box, and you just simply click run. So if you see that, that's Java, not JavaScript.
Yeah, and Ken makes an important point. And good morning, Ken. If you use Zoom.us, it is Java. And that is an elegant use of Java as far as CPU usage, giving you incredible video conferencing. without having to run something like the Google Talk plugin or some of these other plugins.
Did you talk about Google Plus and AT&T yet?
I wanted to. Yeah, I brought it up earlier. That's why I put the.
No, go for it.
Well, I mean, I watched the keynote. It didn't seem like anybody else had watched the keynote. Did you watch it? And what were your thoughts and impressions on it? I thought it was a great keynote.
I liked the keynote. Yeah, you know, I watched little bits and pieces of it because it was on while I was at school. But, you know, I liked how they did the question and answer period and everything like that. I think it was a really good keynote.
Mm-hmm. It was neat from your perspective. I would think that there were a couple young people that were in the line to ask questions as well.
Yeah.
You know, Larry Page, in some ways, you know, I heard Leo Laporte say he thought that his part of the keynote was a little self-serving and everything, you know, but I thought it was excellent. I thought when he was talking about the vision and the mission, I thought that was great, and I thought the Q&A time was great as well, with the exception of the first person that was in line, and you remember who that was, right?
Was that Mr.
Scoble?
Yeah.
The glass hole he referred to himself as?
Yeah.
The glass hole?
Yeah, you know, he's wearing Google Glass, and he posted a picture, and Larry Page mentioned it, of himself wearing Google Glass in the shower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
But yeah, it's interesting. I was telling the people earlier I'd never heard of Chrome Canary before. I put the link in the chat, but it is the way to get that new search feature, Google Now, in your browser, so that I can say, what's the weather in Lynchburg, Virginia?
It's 62 degrees and overcast in Lynchburg.
So if you know, until they get rolled out to regular Chrome, if you want that Google Now feature in Google Search, you can install that Canary browser. And but yeah, that I love the enhancements and what they've done in Photos. I like the fact that, like, I tested this yesterday. I took my granddaughter for a walk down to the pond, and we were looking at some new baby ducklings that were born. And I did the burst photo on my Samsung Galaxy Note 2, and it automatically burst mode, yeah, where you tap the picture thing and it just goes like a machine gun. It just takes all kinds of images very fast.
Wow.
And then what Google Photos will do now, it will automatically take the best of those and stitch them and make an animated GIF out of them. It's really quite interesting. And the enhancement, they will, you can set it to auto enhance. I personally have been pleased, I'd say 90% of the time, with the enhancements that Google Photos does on my photos. Very, very seldom is the time that I will revert to the original. But so yeah, some good things. And then the new Google Maps. Did you get your invite to that, Nick?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, the new Google Maps is really, really nice as well. So.
Burst mode.
Right, it's just like on a regular big, you know, digital DSLR camera. You can hold it down and it'll just take a whole bunch of pictures one after the other. Of course, then if you have your smartphone set to automatically upload those to the cloud, that's a lot of data transmitting those up. So I have mine set to only upload photos when I'm on Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
You know, the other neat thing about it is, you know, Google, and it's not done yet, but they have released their new chat client. It's called Hangouts, and there's a lot of discussion about, you know, why in the world would they choose that for a name? Their unified communication system doesn't have SMS yet, but that's coming. But and I know, Nick, you've been using it because I've seen you and some of the other guys on there. Unfortunately, I've not been in a place where I could have joined in on video. But you want to turn off notifications, otherwise it can get quite annoying depending on how active the chat is. But the other thing that I'm really excited about, and I ranted about this early last week, about a couple things. One is, you know, there was no Bluetooth audio support for Hangouts if you were using the Google Plus set. Just didn't do it. So like when I'm traveling in Florida, I've got this really nice rental car with a nice Bluetooth audio system. You know, I can't use it when I'm in a Hangout. But with the new Hangout apps, there is Bluetooth audio support. So I can join a video hangout using the Hangouts app instead of Google Plus, and I can use my Bluetooth headset or Bluetooth car stereo. That's really nice. The other thing is AT&T, who is my carrier, blocks the usage of video calls on the new Hangouts app unless you're in Wi-Fi. And I posted about that. And of course, there's a hack for it. I installed a program on my Note 2 called SQ Lite. And you can go into a particular database and you can change a word from true to false. And so now I can do it when I can use my data network on AT&T to do video calls now. So
where do you have a link to that hack?
Or yeah,
is it? Yeah, if you could post it, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'll post it in there.
Now I have some clarification. So they completely redid Google Plus. I mean, the whole UI is completely different. They changed all the wording around. And I noticed something last night when I was in a Google Plus Hangout. Somebody in the Hangout invited somebody, and it used to say, Bruce invited people to the Hangout. Now it says Bruce invited people to the video call. It does not say Hangout anymore.
That's correct. The only operative word now for Hangouts is Hangouts on Air.
On Air, yeah.
Everything else is a video call. Moritz was in a show I participated in called Google Plus Week with Dan McDermott, and he's a community manager for Google. And Hangouts on Air will be a separate thing, but all of the other things that you and I have known to be Hangouts are now video calls.
That's so stupid. Doesn't make any sense. Why they branded it for so long as Hangouts? Why change it now?
Well, I would agree with you. I think they should have come up with.
You heard about YouTube?
Yes.
I think the reason they've changed it is like the same reason they moved the bread in the supermarkets, just to make you walk down the aisles to find other things.
Very well played.
But yeah, Bruce, you heard about YouTube opening the YouTube Live?
Don't you have to have 1,000 subscribers?
1,000 subscribers.
Which I think is extremely low.
I don't know. I mean, if somebody's starting now, jeez.
Yeah, but 1,000 subscribers is YouTube standards is extremely low. I was expecting it to be more like 5,000 or 10,000. I think 1,000 is way too low. Yeah, Eric's pointing out in the chat that I talked about that on my show on Friday.
How the Hangouts. I used to get a notification when either you or Mike or somebody had done a Hangout and invited me, but that seems to have stopped, and I think it's an error from what somebody was saying. But I've started to receive over the last several days, I suppose, an email from Google Plus saying new Hangouts from today. These people started to hang out with you today while you were away. While you were away. I can't get should put somebody else's teeth in because mine aren't any good, obviously. And saying that you had started a hangout. So thanks for that, Nick. At least I'm getting some notifications now, but they're still called hangouts. So
I think what they did is when they did this change to Google Video, whatever they changed to, I'm pretty sure they updated the notifications. And what I think originally, I think the reason it was getting blocked is because I was sending so many invites out. I have like 35 people in my Hangout circle, so they might have been blocking it as spam. So I'm not sure, but that appears to be fixed now.
Oh, so it's your fault. I thought it was me.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was thinking, because there's 35 people, and I invite them. Once we were in a Hangout, I'll send an invite 3 or 4 times. Maybe they thought it was spam. I'm not really too sure what they were doing. I'm glad people are getting them now.
What?
I said I'm glad people are getting them now because it's.
We're getting some kind of notification at least. Just finish off on that one, if I may, Amnon. As you're the young chap in the clan, as it were, perhaps you could explain or at least give an idea of what this might mean. Is this Hangouts bring conversations to life with photos, emoji? That's emoji. Is that some kind of new lingo, or have they made a spelling error? emoji. And video calls for free, it says, emoji. I imagine that's images, but they've just, not typed it properly. I might be wrong.
Nick?
A what?
EMOJI.
Emoji.
Yeah. It's not like a new word that I haven't heard of, some kind of hip speak.
No, they've been around for forever.
What is it?
It's those. It's like they're from SMS. They're like the smiley face and the
That's
frowning face.
emoticons, not emoji.
Well, they're labeled. A lot of the apps are labeled as emoticons.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, if you go on like
I've never seen that before.
I know this from the iPhone. If you go in the App Store, a lot of the apps are called emoji, and they're just like the faces and everything.
I always thought of them as smileys or as emoticons, but I've never heard of them called it emoji before. See, that just goes to show how behind the times I am. I ought to get out more.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the new slang. I guess. I really don't know.
Thank you for clarifying that. You've made me feel really old.
Yeah, I shared that information with you in Google Plus, Nick.
I got it. Thank you very much.
They changed the. I was convinced that they changed the UI because I finally figured out how to easily join a Hangout. I mean, just did, and the next time I go in, where is it? It's not there anymore.
They changed everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back to that AT&T thing and blocking Hangout video calls for the new Hangouts app. It goes back to the same nonsense that AT&T did with Apple's FaceTime on the iPhone. They started out blocking that, and they got hammered for it, and then they reversed their position. And if you look at some of the posts, some of their responses on websites about blocking it, there's all kind of doublespeak and nonsense about, there's a difference between apps that come with the phone and third-party apps that are added to the phone afterwards as to what they can block and that sort of thing. So,
yeah, that's where I was reading it on my show I did, and there was lots of third-party video apps that come with the phone pre-installed on the OS will work fine. But then I looked at this and I said, doesn't Google Plus come installed on all Android devices?
Yeah, but the issue they're making is that the new Hangouts app replaces Google Talk, the one that came installed on the phone initially. So, it's crazy, but that's what they're saying.
Yeah, whole bunch of nonsense.
Yep.
Well, but here when they talking about trying to block, not realizing that, come on, you can block it, but somebody's going to come out with a hack right away to get around it. Here's another story, and that's your corner of the world, Steve. It says, a young Irishman wrongly accused of jumping from taxi without paying the fare has secured a judgment from an Irish court ordering the video removed from the entire internet. Okay? Experts from Google, YouTube, and Facebook and others must tell the court in 2 weeks if this is technically possible. The thing is, the video is accurate. It's only the comment that wrongly identified Owen McGo, something like that, as the fare jumper in the video that is inaccurate. It's not clear if the judge has made any orders about the comment. Remove the video from the internet.
If that isn't a prime example of the legal system or courts, old judges just not understanding what the internet is, what it actually means.
It's amazing.
I read this week that the courts in Sweden are trying to seize the domain names for Pirate Bay and the Pirate Day with the .se, the Swedish extension. Mm-hmm. And they're just basically saying, well, that's like, what is the point? Because it's not going to solve anything. The Pirate Bay was, charged, and they were the sentence and everything was laid down, years ago, and yet it's still operating. No matter what they do, it makes absolutely no difference. The idea of a punishment or of legal action against something is because it's going to change it and make a difference. It's going to make no bit of difference at all. So what is the point? They just need to, wake up and think, well, we lost that one. Let's move on with it.
Right. It's they don't understand that it's just a name.
Yeah, it's and even if they do, like they have done in the past, they block it. Well, people just put up a proxy.
Right.
So it's no point in doing that. And I think what will happen is if they do succeed in actually taking the domain, and it's you're looking at the DNS system overall, is then going to not be trusted anymore, and they'll move to something else.
Yeah.
So it's like Gopher and HTML, isn't it? The Gopher was going to be monitored and everything else, so everybody moved to HTML all those years ago. And exactly the same things happen time and time and time again. And it will continue to happen. The more they try and restrict it and clamp down on it and monitor it, the more it pushes people away to a more open source system, which is obvious. It's bound to happen.
It sure is.
Sorry, I went off on a rant there. I'll shut up.
That's okay. No, it's fine. Bruce, tell us what we're looking at.
Oh, that's just an example of the new feature in Google Photos where I took a burst of shots of my granddaughter when we were down there playing with the ducks, and it automatically creates for you. You don't have to do that. They automatically do it for you. Creates an animated GIF out of some of the best of those shots. So,
Neato.
That is amazing. I remember years ago when I used to be interested in well, I'm still interested, but not as much as I used to be, Formula One racing. And back then, the cameras, you couldn't take pictures fast enough, especially when they're zooming past you at 100 odd mile an hour. Something like that now, or back then, I would say, would have been absolutely, fantastic, because you can take goodness knows how many shots in the space of, say, 2 or 3 seconds, and you can almost guarantee that you'll have the one frame that is perfect for you. I love technology. I just wish it was around 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's interesting. Of course, I shared. I was just doing a screen capture from my Google Plus profile. You share the same animated GIF on Facebook, and it's Facebook doesn't support animated GIFs, so it just gives you, it takes what it thinks was the best frame out of them and post it as a.
It's not that it's going to grab the first one.
I'm not sure which one it grabs.
Interesting. Yes, Steve, back then you had to advance the film too. So
yeah, well, I remember the old days of the ones you had to wind on.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And then when they had the it was like, wow, this is like something futuristic.
You guys are amazing with the sound effects today.
We've been practicing, haven't we, Alan?
For years. So, do you have a smartphone? Well, incidents of cell phone theft have been rising for several years and are fast becoming an epidemic. IDG News Service collected data on serious crimes in San Francisco from November to April and recorded 579 theft of cell phones or tablets, accounting for 41% of all serious crime. In just over half the incidents, victims were punched, kicked, or otherwise physically intimidated for their phones. And in a quarter of robberies, users were threatened with guns or knives.
And that's just by the police.
This isn't just happening in tech-loving San Francisco either. The picture is similar across the United States. A big reason for such theft until recently, listen to this, is that there had been little to stop someone using a stolen cell phone. Reacting to pressure from law enforcement and regulators, the U.S.'s largest cell phone carriers agreed early last year to establish a database of stolen cell phones. What does that...
Well, did you...
Go ahead.
I was going to say, did you hear... I haven't read the story yet, but somebody told me now they're able to wipe a phone, and it used to be that the ID stayed with it, so the phone could actually be identified, but that's no longer true. They can actually create
I have no idea.
It looks like a new phone.
You can spoof the IMEI number, I think.
Yes. So there's something they can do now that will prevent. Used to be able to brick it or use tracking software or something. First of all, they can wipe it immediately, And then now they can actually create a new ID number.
The other story that I was reading, I didn't print it out, is that law enforcement is having a problem decrypting data encrypted on the iPhone 4S. And there is no, according to the story, there is no police department anywhere in the country that can do it. It's so good. So they went to Apple. And Apple say you have to stand in line. We have a 4-month waiting period because we are bombarded with people wanting to decrypt encrypted data that's on the
I have a
iPhone
solution
4S.
to the privacy issue for healthcare.
Okay.
We build a data center made out of iPhone 4Ss. There you go. You can't decrypt it. It's safe. Just have row after row after row of phones. We'll put all the data on them.
Just like when AOL started, they were all row after row after row of laptops. But it's, you know something? Here's a story that I'm sort of like a little ashamed or embarrassed. From the state that brought you the nation's first ban on climate science comes another legislative gem, a bill that would prohibit automakers from selling their cars in the state. The proposal, which the Raleigh News and Observer reports was unanimously approved by the State Senate Commerce Committee on Thursday, would apply to all cars manufacturers, but the intended target is clear. It's aimed at Tesla, the only U.S. automakers whose business model relies on selling cars directly to consumers rather than through a network of third-party dealerships. It's easy to understand why some car dealers might feel a little threatened. Tesla models outsold the Mercedes S-Class, BMW 7 Series, and Audi A8 last quarter without any help from them. If its business model were to catch on, consumers might find out they don't need the middleman as much as they thought. And this is ridiculous. Did you hear anything about this, Spence? In the news or anywhere?
Nope.
That stuff was just kind of like under the table.
Keeping it
how the government
extremely
stuff
quiet,
works.
aren't they?
Sorry, what's the...
They're keeping it extremely quiet. You're not finding it in any media. Well, very, very few media out there are talking about it, and you know why. Because people are going to wake up and go, here, hang on a minute, middlemen, we don't need them anymore.
Nick, what did you say?
I said that's how they get stupid stuff like this passed. They do it without anybody knowing.
Yeah. But I mean, talking about saving energy, electric cars, you have to do... And suddenly now, okay, so if you live in North Carolina, you can't buy it. Or they cannot sell it to you.
That's okay, because nobody can afford it anyway.
Nobody
It's
can
very
what?
unusual for
Afford it.
when I say them, I mean organisations and competition and things, for them to allow a competing market or something that's going to be detrimental to their business model allows them to get that big. Generally, they're sort of quashed down and just dispelled and thought, well, it's no point trying to carry on because we're going to make your life miserable. You may as well stop now. But that for them to have gotten this big as quickly as they have and been allowed to is quite a surprise, I think. A welcome surprise.
Eric Andrews is saying about the decryption, Apple is never going to tell them. Well, when you come in there with a warrant, they're going to have to. But they said that it takes a long time, even for Apple to do it.
It takes
I
a
think
long
they're
time for
averaging
Apple to
something
do
like
anything.
4 months.
4 months,
Averaging 4 months, but it took them 7. It's
Yeah, well.
brilliant. Yeah, we'll do that for you when we get around to it.
Are any of you fans of the the television show Person of Interest?
Yes.
It is I'm just kind of catching up because I haven't been able to watch it, so I've been watching downloaded versions of it. But really interesting to see this season and the whole thing with technology and privacy and computers and artificial intelligence and all that's been quite entertaining. If you've never watched it and you're a geek, I think you've become a quick fan of Person of Interest.
I think it's interesting that while the show can be viewed as fiction, some of the technology is certainly forward-looking. But if somebody can think of this to write a script about it, then there are other people who are thinking about it to actually implement it.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
without a doubt.
What movie was it that you could go to a satellite and bring up a video recording of what happened on the in the U.S. and kind of like get yourself focused on an area and see who came in, who went out? What was this?
Wasn't that 24? Didn't they sort of start that kind of revealing that sort of technology could be available?
No, it was a few years ago.
Is it Google Maps?
Enemy of the State?
No. You could. There was something. It was an action movie. I'm trying to say it was with Arnold
Enemy of the
Schwarzenegger, but
State.
I don't know if is that it.
That was one that featured that technology.
Like
Well,
if
there's
you
several.
wanted
You
to
got
see,
the-
like if you wanted to see where my car went Tuesday afternoon, then you can go back there and zoom on the driveway and see it taking off, and you can follow it and see where it went, because everything is recorded of what's happening from the satellite. It's a movie of supposedly the world, but it was in the United States, and they could see when somebody arrived, when they left. Not recording just that person, but because the video was available, you could focus on one area and see what happened there. It's kind of scary, but it's interesting.
I think it's potentially possible. I think that they don't have enough satellites to provide that type of a wide view and capture all that. Because I remember when they first started. I first started reading Tom Clancy novels back years ago, and they talk about some of these reconnaissance satellites that they had, and the way they talk, anything that they reveal, they've got something better than that. The resolution was, they're getting better and better and better. But back then, in these books, in order for any satellite to be used for, and the stuff they show you on television, is all.
That's it. It was
or in
Gene
movies
Hackman.
It's. I would guess it's similar, but it's. And I can't say I've never seen what it really looks like, but you've got to remember that these are very, very, very limited resources. The cost of doing that, to put one of these things up in space and to have it available, they have. The point I'm making is, in the Tom Clancy novels, they would say, well, in order for us to get satellite reconnaissance of a specific incident or something like that, they had to apply for and get permission, and then they had to move the satellite a certain way, and it takes fuel and all this other stuff to move it. I'm not saying move it in orbit, but to turn it or whatever.
Okay, let's put it this way: a satellite can take a picture of the East Coast.
Yes.
That's it. So you can, at that point, you can just zoom in on part of the East Coast. If you know that at 2:00 in the afternoon in Queens, Andrew drove his car and went to pick up a guest, you can see that. I mean,
that would be such incredible resolution that I don't think it exists.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah. Not possible. There's no way that's possible with current satellites. No way.
No,
Resolution
there's no
isn't
way that the camera technology existed. You could go from a full picture of the United States down to that granular and record it.
Well, I mean, look at. I mean, how does it do the how does Google Earth work? They just taking
It's
shots?
a composite. It's a composite of photographs that are taken either by aerial, like photo reconnaissance from an airplane or from a satellite. And if you look around in the earlier days of Google Earth, you could go to some areas where you could see the difference in resolution.
Right.
It would show up as patches. You could see there where they took, it's a mosaic of photographs that they've linked together, some high resolution. When you got into low population areas, the pictures weren't as good. And the pictures are better now because you've got private satellite companies that are taking pictures and offering.
Yeah, but the resolution is fine from a satellite. You can go down and
It's not all satellite, though. It's not all satellite.
What about the streetcars that drive around and take pictures? I mean, that's how most of the street view is done.
No, I understand, but you can look from the satellite and zoom in to a certain point, but I can recognize my car.
Yes, but
Yeah,
that's the difference on what you just said. What you said, Amnon, was taking a whole picture of the East Coast
Right.
and then zooming in. The satellite that's taking that picture is zoomed in, then takes the picture.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Well,
Yeah, so the what you see on Google Earth is you might have a resolution of a photograph might be a resolution of
but then they can
a quarter. Each picture is a quarter mile. Square.
But you can take that picture that's not high res and give it to NCIS, and they'll fix it.
Oh yeah, they'll be able to look at your guy tying his shoes and tell you what shoelaces he has, or look at the serial number on somebody's watch, on the back of the watch. No, that doesn't exist.
Yeah, just give some more calf pow to Abby Shuto, and she can do anything.
That's right. They show people with this they could take photo reconstruction. Now, this is true. This technology does exist, where you can take a blurry image and interpolate pixels to try to come up with, a better picture. But if your resolution is, you're zooming in and the resolution is low, chances of you being able to produce a really good photograph that's going to identify a person it's not good.
Now
you can enhance it. It's like, did you hear recently Carnival's new problem that they had where
the bathrooms?
two people fell off a ship and disappeared
this whole thing
in Australia. There was a 10-day South Pacific cruise, and the last night of the cruise, they were coming into Sydney, and a couple that were part of a larger family group of people, fell off the ship and disappeared.
I don't think that
they have surveillance cameras on the ship, and they were sending the video out because they saw them fall in the water or fall over the railing, but they couldn't tell if they jumped or accidentally fell.
See, I was watching that. I don't see how somebody. If anybody's ever been on a cruise ship, the railings aren't short; they are very high railings. You don't fall over the railing of a cruise ship.
Well,
it goes up to your mid. It goes sometimes higher than your mid chest. I mean, you don't fall over that.
It's
I think
easy. I think, and unless you were drunk and you were throwing yourself at the rail, or you were fooling around and climbed up on the rail. But they were the point of what I was saying was that they had actually sent the video somewhere to try to get it enhanced.
Oh, okay.
But so they could tell if they fell or jumped because they were suspicious that they jumped.
Somebody may have been standing next to against the rails, and the captain stepped on the gas, and it threw him back.
Yeah. It'd be a little subtle. But I remember the last cruise I went on was a Carnival cruise. And for the first time, I noticed my wife and I would always walk every day. And depending on the ship, it's not necessarily that easy. They do have places to walk, but it's usually not convenient. So we would walk on the lifeboat deck, which in some ships is called the promenade deck. In this case, it would go most of the way around. It didn't go all the way around. So you turn around and go back, and you walk back and forth. But we were walking, and I noticed I'd never seen this on a cruise ship before. They have surveillance cameras. I've seen that. They had forward-looking infrared cameras on the front and the back of that particular deck that were movable. So what would you use that for? I mean, I'd never seen it on a ship before. Forward-looking infrared would be able to find somebody in the water. That's mainly what it would be used for.
What about pulling into port? Could it be used for pulling into port, like lining stuff?
They have whenever they pull into port, they've got a pilot that comes on board the ship that is responsible for bringing the ship in, who knows the waters so well, and it's all marked. They've got tugs that bring them in, and
yeah,
But I think these cameras were there specifically to see people in the water.
it's pretty crazy.
And if there was an issue with the ship where they were taking people off the ship in lifeboats, I don't think that would be relevant. This is for looking for people who fall in the water. So do they have that much of a problem with people disappearing off their ships that they need FLIR cameras?
No,
I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah,
I'd never seen that before, and it literally sticking up there with a little, the white dome that swivels with a lens in it, and it said FLIR on it. It said forward FLIR. I thought it was interesting.
We all use Skype.
Yep.
A Microsoft server accesses URLs sent in Skype chat messages, even if they are HTTPS URLs and contain account information. A reader of Heise Publications notified Heise Security. They replicated the observation by sending links via Skype, including one to a private file storage account, and found that these URLs are shortly after accessed from a Microsoft IP address. When confronted, Microsoft claimed that this is part of an effort to detect and filter spam and phishing URLs.
Lying.
That's what they said.
Yeah, that's a bunch of BS.
Yeah. But apparently if you are, and this is done automatically, the title of the article was that Microsoft reads your Skype chat traffic.
And people are surprised?
Oh, well, I'm sure a lot of people don't know.
It's like saying like Gmail, like Google doesn't look through your Gmail stuff.
Yeah.
You're using a free service. The chats are all going through their servers, so they're definitely monitoring it.
Spence, you have specials, right?
I do.
All right, we'll wait about 5 minutes. Bruce already talked about this, that Microsoft has officially dubbed the upcoming revision to its flagship operating system, Windows 8.1. And they're retiring the code name Windows Blue.
Darn.
They also said that the update would be freely available to anybody with Windows 8. It will be available through the Windows Store. Why wouldn't it be an update through Windows Update? I don't understand. It will be available through the Windows Store, and Reller declined to provide an exact release date for Windows 8.1, but said that Microsoft is very sensitive to the timing of the holidays. We're in May. They're talking about the holidays. Ideally, Microsoft will be able to provide devices with Windows 8.1 preloaded in time for the holiday 2013 season. Reller said, but those who purchase a Windows 8 device later this year will be able to easily upgrade to 8.1. What about those that bought it last year? Are they not going to be able to easily upgrade to 8.1? I don't know.
I think you need to take into account with that one when they say the holiday season, they mean the Christmas holiday season.
Yeah, it's the Christmas holiday season. That's right, yeah.
Yeah, not the summer holiday, which is, they say holiday season. People are thinking, oh, good, that's going to be a few weeks then. Summer holiday. Nope, it's Christmas 2014.
Yeah, they're not talking about St. Valentine's 2014. No.
Yeah.
But it's going to be interested, I think.
And the good thing is, I suppose, there's been an awful lot of people complaining and moaning and bitching and whining about it. It's good that they aren't so far up their own trouser leg that they have actually listened. But then I think they would have been absolutely pathetically stupid had they not. But I think they were arrogant enough to think that, we can just get away with this, which I think does annoy a lot of people.
I'm just... keep going. I'm just trying to catch up with the chat here.
Yeah, I was just explaining to Guy how you do what you do.
But no, I'm looking at Spence's Windows Blue. Spence, what happened?
It's
I was
okay
just
for me.
rewording it instead of spelling it, just to change the spelling on blue. That's all.
Oh! I thought something happened to your Windows.
No.
Okay.
That's what they're called. Windows Blue, BLEW.
Yeah, blue. Right.
Blue.
No,
I think that they want to keep it on with blue because people are so familiar with the blue screen of death.
That's right.
All right, I'll tell you what, Spence. Let's do the specials.
All right.
Steve, you go ahead and get a box of Kleenex.
No, I've sat down now, relaxed back into my chair so I don't fall off.
Okay.
So Steve's thinking about
With
Windows
Valium
Fuchsia.
and, all right. Starting with Staples, they've got a 15.6-inch HP laptop with an AMD A6 processor, $349. That's $200 off. They've got a Lenovo 7-inch Android tablet, 8 gig. It's got 2 cameras on it with a micro SD card slot, $109, save $20. They've got Kingston flash drives on sale, 16 gig for $899, 32 gig for $19.99. Acer i3 23-inch all-in-one touchscreen computer. This is the cheapest I've seen it out there today at all the different sites. $699, 4 gig of memory, 1 terabyte hard drive. Brother Mono Laser Printer. This is the USB Connect only, no networking. $59, save $60. They've got a Western Digital MyBook USB hard drive, 2 terabytes for $99, save $20. 3 terabytes for $129, save $10. And they've also got the Western Digital Passport portable hard drive, 1 terabyte for $89, 2 terabytes for $149. That's at Staples. Office Max has Lexar USB flash drives on sale, 8 gig for $599, 16 gig for $999. They've got an off-brand portable USB HGST. I'm not sure whose drive they have in there, but that's the brand
Hitachi.
for the packaging in the case. $69.
What'd you say, Steve?
$20.
Yeah,
What's that?
HGST is Hitachi. Hitachi Group Storage Technology.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So Hitachi. Okay.
Bless you.
Not sure why they don't just put Hitachi on it.
Yeah.
It's another 3
HGST
letters.
makes it sound like it's a real no name. So 1 terabyte for $69, 500 gig for $59. I think I'd spend the extra $10. Acer 22-inch LED monitor for $109, save $20. HP 23-inch LED monitor for $149, save $50. We've got several Brother printers on sale. They've got an inkjet printer scanner fax copier, $59, save $40. They've got a mono laser with duplex printing for $109, wireless, save $40. They've got a wireless printer scanner fax copier mono laser printer with duplex printing for $149, save $50. That would be a very versatile machine. They've got a wireless Epson inkjet printer scanner fax copier with duplex printing for $99, save $50. That seems to be table stakes now for printers, duplex. More and more coming out with them. HP, Epson, Canon. Brother was the first to have a inexpensive duplex printer. I have one of the first lasers. It's really saves a lot of paper. HP printer, copier, scanner, inkjet for $39, save $10. That's at Office Max. Office Depot, they've got a Samsung 7-inch Galaxy tablet, 8 gig of memory, $179, save $20. Comes with a free 16 gig micro SD card. Brother printer, copier, scanner, mono laser. This is wired networking, but does come with duplex for $129, save $50. And I don't know where Canon comes up with this particular branding name, but it's a Canon Selphy, SELPHY, wireless photo printer. It's $79. Looks like it's pretty small. I think its print's only 4x6. $79 or 20 off, but it will print from memory cards, USB drives, cameras that are supported. I'm not sure the name. There is a standard for printing from a camera. I don't remember what it's called. Also from wirelessly to PCs, iOS devices, Android, smartphones, tablets, and so on. 7-inch Asus tablet, 16 gig of memory, $149, save $10. 23-inch Acer LED monitor for $139, save $30. A D-Link wireless range extender is $49. And it's interesting, as you look at this thing, it looks like a Wallwart charger. It's literally got the actual, there's no line cord. You just literally plug it into the wall, and it is the range extender. So that could be interesting, versatile. That's at Office Depot. At Best Buy, they've got a couple of things. Logitech C525 webcams on sale, $39. That's 20 off. I use that one. That's my my overhead camera. There is the C525. Now, if you're looking to do, it does support HD. If you're looking to do, high frame rate and all that, probably not the camera you want to buy. But for casual use, Skype, I use it. I throw it in my bag when I travel for work because it folds really nice. It folds on itself to protect the lens. But a decent camera, $39. Targus Chill Mat. And they've redesigned all their the chill mats for laptops, and $19 save $10. It's actually quite substantial. They do have for $29 a smaller form factor, I guess, for smaller like Ultrabooks and things like that. This was made to work with like a 15-inch laptop, maybe even larger. $19 save $10. Samsung 15.6-inch i3 laptop, $379. 20-inch HP monitor for $89. It's at Best Buy. And finally, Tiger Direct wireless keyboard and mouse combo. This is their store brand. $14.99, save $5. They've got desktop memory 4 gig for $34.99. Notebook memory 4 gig for $34.99. 8 gig for $54.99. That doesn't sound all that cheap to me. They seemed it was cheaper a while back, but still reasonable. 19-inch monitor for $79, 23-inch monitor for $119, 24-inch monitor for $149. I believe the first two are Asus, and the last one is Samsung. 500 gig power, 500 meg, I should say, power line adapter kit. That's the two ends of an adapter you would plug into your home wiring, and you'd connect Ethernet to it. You'd be able to extend wired Ethernet to another place in your house. I use this to bring wired Ethernet to my entertainment center, per se, because I have four devices, 4 Ethernet devices that are actually 5 now. I put a new wireless access point down there too. But this is the way I bring connection to my entertainment center, where I have several devices. They support wireless, but they also have Ethernet ports, and I get much better performance due to distance for Apple TV or for I've got a Blu-ray player, Sony, that supports different apps. TV actually supports Netflix, so I bring wired in just for more reliability. So that's $49 for that kit. That includes both ends of the connection. And that's at Tiger Direct, and that's it for today.
Very
thank
nice.
you, Spence.
You're a gentleman and a scholar, and everything that exceeds your good looks.
Oh, well, thank you. With that, I should just go out and buy a lottery ticket.
Yeah.
Or like Pete used to say, a gentleman in a school bus. Let's see what else. Back in April 2012, the U.S. Justice Department filed an antitrust lawsuit against Apple and a number of publishers for allegedly colluding to raise the price of ebooks on the iBookstore. As part of its investigation into Apple's actions, the Justice Department collected evidence which demonstrates that Apple was the ringmaster in the price-fixing conspiracy. Specifically, the Justice Department claims that Apple wielded its power in the mobile app market to coerce publishers to agree to Apple's terms for iBookstore pricing. I don't remember seeing that story back then, but anybody has any insight about that?
I do remember seeing something about it back then, and I think anyone who honestly says that they're ever surprised when something like this comes up regarding price fixing and manipulating the market or trying to cut somebody out of the market, anyone that says they're surprised is fibbing. Because we all know it goes on. It must go on. I mean, look at the price fixing for virtually everything. And certainly in the last 5 or 6 years, there's been a multitude of really top-named companies, every top name you can think of, being involved in it, not only in the Americas, but in Europe as well. It's happening all over the place, and it's all about profit and money at the end of the day. And if they can get away with manipulating the cost or the price to the consumer who's happy to pay it, then they'll do so. They ought to be held more accountable I think it ought not to be the corporations. It ought to be the people that actually signed the documents and that agreed with what they've done. It shouldn't be looked at as a company. It should be looked at the individual that okayed it and said, go ahead with it. They're the ones that should be put away. That would soon stop it.
Well,
sorry, ranting again. Stop it, Stephen. For goodness sake. It's like Google at the moment. The Parliament, British Parliament, are having a heyday with ripping them to shreds about paying their tax. Apparently, they've got shed loads of leaked, or not leaked documents, but they've got hold of a load of documentation from a whistleblower regarding Google and its doing business in Europe, in England, when they say that they weren't. They were doing business in Ireland, and there's a load of documentation they've got hold of. I mean, thousands of pages. So the government have called them back again to say, tell us again that you're not evil.
Well,
it's going to be quite good, I think. Definitely a time for a big bucket of popcorn.
Bruce, instead of us going to the link, why don't you tell us what the story is about?
Well, I mean, this first link was about from Information Week, 5 hopeful signs for Windows 8. And, it just talks about that Windows 8 is going to get a much better consumer appeal once they roll out this 8.1 version.
Oh, yeah.
The other one was kind of funny about, going back to privacy. Strip club bans smart spectacles. So there's a lot of privacy issues with Google Glass. I mean, you can only imagine, going into a gym, a workout room, and, this kind of stuff, so.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, now I'm not looking forward to go back to the Y. Suddenly.
Why would that be?
What makes me laugh about a lot of these privacy concerns and questions is like this article, the headline is Google Glass faces hellstorm of privacy questions from US government. Excuse me, pot, kettle, black. Yeah. You're a fine hypocrite to be talking about privacy questions for a company, about getting your own act together before you start questioning. Oh, I'm vicious today, aren't I?
It's just posturing so that they can say when the people come up for election or whatever that they will look.
Well, we did ask. Yeah, we didn't sit on our hands and ignore it. We did ask the question. It's no problem. We're not going to go any further with that because we've had loads of backhanders. So, we aren't going to actually investigate anything.
Hey, Spence, do me a favor. I want to be I want to be able to see the microphone. Can you raise? No, I'm being sarcastic. You need to raise your head in the shot, so you need to tilt the camera down a little bit. It's up. Good. There you go. I should have told you earlier. No, didn't have a chance. And those of you that travel and drive in Florida, Bruce, you do, right?
Yes, I do.
Florida's DOT changed some language in their yellow light timing regulations, leading to a decrease in the yellow delay, especially at lights with red light cameras. From the article, red light cameras generated more than $100 million in revenue last year in approximately 70 Florida communities, with 52.5% of the revenue going to the state. The rest is divided by cities, counties, and the camera companies. In 2013, the cameras are on pace to generate $120 million. And he goes, I wonder what the camera company cut is. At least one area has promised to undo the reduction now that they have been caught. Can you imagine? Can you imagine the state doing stuff? Well, I mean, after the IRS, yeah, I guess you could imagine.
It's as childish as the game that kids play. Red light, green light, red light.
Well, again, what do we expect when people get into these positions? And it's like Bruce, you travel a lot, and you see the kind of taxes they slap on a rental car.
Oh, yeah.
You come in, they figure you're just coming in to visit, so you're outraged, but it's not going to stop you from visiting again, probably.
Right.
And some of these just usage fees that you pay to rent a car at an airport is outrageous. You rent a car, it might be $99 for the few days, and then not including the insurance, you get slapped with $40 in fees.
Yeah.
On top of that rental. And it's like airport fee, access fee,
fee.
It's taxation without representation. It is a way of taking money from people. Their constituents don't care because they don't pay it because they live there.
And still no free health care. I like that. Yeah.
Did anybody see the article with Facebook had their 1 year landmark for the IPO? And stock has never been back to where it was on that first day.
And somebody just bailed out.
Yeah. But they're saying now that what Facebook aims to be is they want to make all their money off advertising. And they've been retooling. If anybody uses Facebook, you're aware of how they've been retooling the desktop and how much it's changed. Some of the stuff is just absolutely frustrating, annoying. But they hope to be, let's see, what's their ad revenue? Net income increased 7% to $219 million in the recent quarter compared with the previous year. So it's ads. It's not about what was supposed to be the people's IPO. This is for everybody. It's everybody can have a piece of this, and no, not about that. It's about ad revenue. It's about money.
Yeah.
But there you go.
Did you all read the article about the fact that Google sort of like ordered Microsoft, but asked very strongly that Microsoft will take out the YouTube app from their devices because
I read that
the
this
app.
morning.
What?
I read that this morning. Yeah,
Yeah,
It's,
because the app strips ads.
it's just like two big lumbering giants picking fault with each other, isn't it? And none of them are going to do what the other one wants.
I think YouTube is in the right here.
Well, they are. Yeah, I mean, their terms of service quite clearly say that they can't, but it's Microsoft.
Yeah, I just think it's like, you're selling a product and then somebody comes along and, takes your product and starts reselling it. It's like, that's how YouTube makes their money, by advertising. So you stripping that out means it's affecting them.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Spencer, there is a, I don't know if Edmond, you want to go full screen. There is a recent rental car document that I had for my last trip. And if you can, I don't know how easy it is to read, but you've got
I see it.
fees and taxes, $54.37. Another line, fees, $38.90. Concession recovery, $21.90. Energy recovery fee, tires and battery fee, state surcharge. It's ridiculous.
It's insane. It is insane.
Yep.
Sheesh. Wow.
Was this a week for 1 week?
This was 4 days.
Oh my gosh!
No wonder they need to cut down so many
well
trees.
over $100 in fees.
Yep.
We give
But
you
they
the,
don't even
we,
itemize it. They
we
have
give you the car
fees
for,
and taxes. Fees.
we give you the car for free, but the fees are
Yeah, that's it.
We're the only company in the world that offers free car rental, apart from all the different fees that you have to pay, which come to about $76 per day.
yeah.
And I do this every month. And, you'd think they would treat their customers better.
Hey, Carrie.
You think. Yeah, you think.
And
Let's
you were
see.
saying that it's like
Say,
flying
we're not
is exactly the
charging
same. You've
that.
got
Somebody
handheld baggage, and you've got this excess, and you've got gates fees, and you've got landing fees, and you've got so many different fees being added on that all used to be part and parcel of the the ticket price.
Yeah.
They're trying to separate each individual thing out now to just amplify all wherever the money is. It's like years and years ago over here in England, the water would be part of your normal rates for your from the council or the state tax, if you were. Then that was separated out. Then this was separated out. Then the rubbish collection was another thing that was separated out, and you had a separate payment for it. That's the way it seems to be going. Every little thing that you used to be all incorporated into one is now privately owned and managed, and you need to pay your fee for that, which if you equate the whole lot together is 96.5% more than you used to pay.
Oh, Steve, you said my favorite word again. Could you just say rubbish by itself?
Rubbish.
Rubbish. Let's see. Who just called in?
Larry.
Hey, Larry, how are you?
All right. I need to ask Spence a question.
Ask him.
Yes, sir.
Okie doke. Well, first of all, glad you're back.
Oh, thanks.
And with a Brother printer, which you taught me into buying one,
Uh-oh.
with your recommendations that you do.
Uh-oh.
No, if when you go on the internet and you go and print something off, sometimes it'll come off in small print. Is there a way to go in there and make it print out normal?
It's got to do with the setup for the application you're printing from. What browser do you use?
The browser is Windows Explorer, Internet.
So when you go to, let's see here, my file print, there'll be we might be able to capture this and show this to you. Let's see.
Larry, what do you do printing?
Well, I got the printer set up, and my wife uses it.
Oh, okay.
But the stuff just prints out small for some reason.
If you go into advanced, I have a Brother laser, and you can go into advanced and select. This is from inside of Firefox. I occasionally notice I get in Firefox the side might be cut off a little bit,
Uh-huh.
and that's got to do with the formatting. Let's see here. I'm looking paper quality, printer function, layout.
Did you try to Google it, Larry?
Yeah, and the only thing it came up with, it just said that the software you're using sometimes might print out something smaller. But but I put on there, when you're trying to print an article from the web from a web page, how do you get it to print normal? And it's the software you're using.
It's got to do with the driver the printer driver talks to the software. So if you printed from Word, you would have different options than if you printed from the web through a browser than if you printed from some other application.
Right.
So the options, it might have to do with the scaling of the web screen itself. You do a print screen, and you may have zoomed so far in or so far out on that web page that the printer can't handle the printing it at that scale. So if you go into the view and make sure you go back to normal size from under view zoom, it'll give you, there's a reset option that you can go in and it will reset it back to normal. Try printing it with the zoom reset.
Okay.
See if that makes a difference.
I know you changed the zoom from 400, 300, 100, but
yeah. So you want it to be at here's a test. Try different zoom settings and see if it changes the output of the print. If it doesn't change it by changing the zoom, then that's not the right setting.
Right.
I've seen this before. I don't see it often. Occasionally I see it, and I think it's got something to do with the way the web page is formatted.
Yeah.
Does it do it for all pages?
Well, different. Not everything. No, it's just we were going and looking some articles on some stuff, and it.
Yeah,
was,
I think it's got to do more with the web page. So try resetting. Yeah. Some browsers will remember the zoom setting for a page.
Uh-huh.
I know Firefox will do that. If I have a particular site that I go to and I have it zoomed into 200%, when I go back there, it remembers.
Oh, okay.
And will.
So it might help to go in and reset the zoom and just start off fresh.
It could be the way that site is set up. But if you print from, do you have Office on this machine?
Yeah.
If you print from Word, there are no issues. It doesn't do this, right? If you print from PowerPoint, PowerPoint is its own animal because you've got to go in and format tell it to print on one page. Yeah. And sometimes the stuff is really small, depending on how you built the spreadsheet.
Yeah, I don't work with
spreadsheets. It'll depend on the site as well. If it's not particularly formatted well, then you need to look at your settings. It may also have reduce to fit enabled in the print software or in the browser, which if it's wider than your standard A4 sheet, it will shrink it down to fit that page, which would make the writing very small.
Right. Okie doke. Well,
all right.
Well, good luck. I think it's a formatting issue.
Okay. All right. So. Thanks.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Take care, Larry.
Okay. Bye, Anman.
Bye. Hello, Alistair.
Hello. How are we all?
We're fine. So say rubbish.
Oh, rubbish.
Oh, I love it.
I aim to please. It's rubbish.
What was that? We aim to please. Please aim to.
That's the great thing in England. Everything is rubbish, isn't it? And it's getting worse and worse as the day goes on.
And if it's really rubbish, it can be knackered as well.
Yeah. Absolutely rubbish. And of course, being a family show, we don't say the other words that we could possibly use as well. But I'm sure you sound like you're British, so you probably know.
We have a long Anglo-Saxon history, of which not all of it is glorious.
Yes.
You know,
to be
the
diplomatic.
technology is such a great thing. I really appreciate Mr. Black Crow calling in because, in Google Hangouts and Tech and Coffee Hangouts, one of our Tech and Coffee regulars ended up corrupting her installation of Mint. I think she installed Mint Olivia, which is a release candidate, and then applied some updates and kind of hosed her system. And it was so great that he was able to help her yesterday online. I was able to listen to, of course, I'm not a Linux person, but just listening to the tech support that's available in venues like Google Hangouts or shows like this is just a really great thing.
I think that's one of the reasons why I've become a huge fan and proponent of the Linux system, is just because you have that access and that insight and the ability to actually get into the operating system and deal with any problems without being excluded from the inner mechanics of the things. I mean, you were just talking about rental cars. It's the same with cars in general. These days, people are, for many, many years, car builders have been putting different sump plugs on the bottom of the engine so that you can't even change your own oil on your own car. A very easy, basic maintenance task, but yet you have to buy, a 20. It's probably the equivalent of $20, $30 tool to actually get the sump plug out to actually drain your engine of oil and change it. And so, throughout all kinds of technology stacks, not just computers.
Mm-hmm. Some Mercedes, some Mercedes don't have a dipstick.
Yeah.
I mean, it's there, but it doesn't have the dipstick itself. You have to go to the mechanic. They would have one that they can stick in there and check your oil. Yeah, ridiculous.
I mean, I can understand why some things need to be proprietized and why some things really do need to be handled by a professional. But I think it's gone overboard now, and people just aren't being allowed to gain and maintain their own basic maintenance skills. Yeah. I think that's a bad trend.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing that I promote about Linux. It's that not only is it free to actually download and install, but it's also more accessible to actually maintain and tinker around with. You don't, every time you buy a new piece of hardware or every time you buy a new piece of software, you don't have to clog up your system with lots of different third-party bits of software. The thing's designed from day one to work as one unit, but be accessible as well. That's my little soapbox moment.
Yeah, but by the same token, it's always sort of like a step behind.
It has been. I'll grant you, it has been in the past. As recently as the introduction of USB 3. USB 3 support was actually in the kernel and available to operating system users as much as a year before it was available to Windows users.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. This is the thing. I think it was a similar situation with SATA support as well. I grant you, some years ago, it was very much behind. But in most areas, we're pretty much on the same page with everybody, and in some areas, we're actually ahead. And one area is security. The virus updates and security updates for Microsoft, for example, come out once a week. I believe it's on a Tuesday. Whereas when it gets patched on Linux, it's available as soon as the code hits the repository.
Right.
So you haven't got that. It's fine if the virus hits the net on a Monday. You get the security update on the Tuesday. But what if it hits on a Wednesday? You've got to go most of the week. yeah, I'm just not keen on that one. I like my security updates as soon as they can be patched in, frankly.
Yeah, there are a lot of things that are more up to date on. In my business, we use all Linux servers, but what we do here, it's all Windows, and like you using Skype, but your Skype is probably for Linux is 2 or 3 versions behind the Windows one. And
Which may
proprietary.
in some cases make him in better stead than
I
us.
know, right? That's true. But in most cases, he will not be able to join us on the group call because it'll say that it's not
but that
new
that
enough.
isn't,
So
that isn't the fault of the operating system.
no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's actually Microsoft controls that now, so that's a very interesting situation. Like no, we're not going to make it so you can use it. You're going to have to switch to Windows if you want to do anything with that. Yeah.
That's lock-in. That's proprietization.
Yeah.
And how many lawsuits have they lost in Europe over antitrust?
Nick, you have something to say? It looks like you got kind of.
Yeah, actually, I have to go. So.
Okay.
Thanks for having me on, Amnon.
Sure, thank you.
I'll talk to all you guys next week.
Have a great day. Am I going to hear from you tonight?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
We'll be around tonight. All right. Thanks for watching, guys.
And with that, I'm going to be leaving too.
You are too.
Yep. Yeah, a
Take
little
it
too
easy,
much
Nick.
computer screen for me today here. So,
Rest up, Spence. Have a good week.
well, thank you, everybody. Have a good week. Thanks, Steve. And
All right.
I'll talk to you soon.
All right, Spence.
All right. Bye.
See ya.
You know, Alistair is the equivalent of what we would call here in the U.S. a shade tree mechanic. You know, with Linux, he's able to pull a fellow geek up underneath the old oak tree and pop the hood and get in there and tweak around, and that is one of the benefits of it for sure.
It's a philosophy that I've held all my life, and it's bit by bit it's crept into my computing as well. Things are just generally more enjoyable if you do them as a community, as a collaborative effort, if you do them with other people. And to my mind, Linux and open source just depends totally upon that and is better for depending on that. Because things come out into the open, they're discussed, communities within communities form, and you get more human contact, and I just think the whole stack benefits from that.
Yeah.
It's
by the way,
much more of a
let me give a plug
collaborative
for-
effort, isn't it? That's the nice thing about Linux.
Yeah, very much so, and it does foster that spirit of, if you hit a logjam, you can call somebody up on the internet and not necessarily get a bill at the end of the day.
Go ahead, Bruce.
I was just going to give a plug for Tech and Coffee. If you guys like talking tech, go to techandcoffee.info. You can hang out with us anytime. If you click on Hangouts on the left side of the menu, we have 4 different Hangouts. The main one is the one most of us are in. But a lot of great help and assistance takes place there. So check out techandcoffee.info. We have over 10,000 members of the Tech and Coffee community in Google+, and it's become a great repository for help and ideas and news as well. So
That's
check
a
it out.
lot of coffee.
That's a lot of coffee, yeah. I think one of the nice things about it, which I'll just add on to Bruce's point there, is that I may have given the wrong impression. It's not an exclusively Linux community there.
Right.
If you've got any kind of tech that's playing up, you'll often find somebody who knows or has had the same problem in there. With, as I say, from just about any operating system or piece of tech you care to mention. So yeah, it's a great place to come and find a little bit of help if you need it.
Bit by bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, Bruce, I'll just bring up 2 things I just heard you talking about rental cars. Yesterday morning, a drunk guy basically broke into the wife's car trying to find somewhere to sleep. The actual criminal damage thing and that side of it has all been dealt with. But as soon as he basically tore the door open, the car's obviously gone away. And it's only a cheap car, so it might get written off. But in the meantime, she's had to get a rental car on the insurance. Mm-hmm. So I promise, when we find out exactly what the bill is for that and how much is tagged on and what little ride-alongs get added to that, I promise I'll come back and I'll give you a real-life example of, even when it's covered by insurance, how much do they add to the bill.
Yeah, and that's an interesting question. In fact, it's making me want to go in and look up because my most of my car rentals are done at airports, and I'm wondering now if there are more fees, connected with the airport rentals than the rental I did. I did a rental from a local enterprise because on one of my trips I drove. And I'm kind of curious to go back and look at my expense report to see if there were as many fees and taxes on that rental as there was on the one at the airport.
I mean, there's a reason why these companies are global businesses, is because they know how to charge, to use the vernacular. I mean, I got caught quite a few years ago now. I went on holiday to Spain, rented a car, and when I took it off the lot, I did all the usual checks, for stone chip and scratches and dents and things, and it appeared absolutely pristine and brand new. The car did, so I was happy to take it away. It was only when I took the people I was holidaying with out for a meal a couple of nights later at a restaurant that just needed a quick car hop, I realised one of the headlights was out. And when I took the car back,
they charged you for it.
They charged me for the headlamp replacement. Yeah, exactly. And of course, it's one of the things you don't think to check when you're picking a rental car up in bright sunshine. But it's one of the things they can get you for, and maybe, it would do everybody a favour if we could do our own our own list of things you should check on a rental car when you pick it up. Because, yeah, I know I made damn sure yesterday when I went round with the missus to pick the rental car up that we checked the headlights and all the lamps on the car.
Right.
It's a pernicious way of charging, and the same things creeping into air travel as well. You get what seem to be very good value plane tickets, but it's all the airport charges and taxations and fuel charges and they just seem to creep onto the price of your air ticket as well.
What do you check? You check the wing?
When I picked the car up yesterday, I checked all the lights. I just turn all the lights on and see if any are out. And she went, no, we wouldn't charge you for that. Honest to God, no. No. Yes, just turn the lights on. It's it's all fine when you're signing the credit card statement, accepting all charges. But I, like you, have found it's a different matter when you actually come back and drop the car off and pick up the final tab.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's,
energy. What was it? Energy fee? No, energy reclamation fee.
What?
Bruce.
Energy reclamation.
Was that one other thing? Energy reclamation fee.
Yeah, there was something like that. Yeah, it's crazy. I'm going to put a link in the chat. It's kind of interesting, and it's great. You got to love big data when it comes to this. There's a chart for worldwide baggage fees, and it compares them all on a nice website, faircompare.com, worldwide baggage fee chart. And that's where they make up a lot of their money. I mean, you know, it's crazy.
Yeah, and now that you want to save money, so you don't take nothing with you, they look at you and say you're a terrorist.
Yeah.
I mean, I very nearly caught it yesterday. Well, no, I did actually catch it yesterday. I know when I return the car, it's something that they'll make a little bit on, and that is the first time I ever rented a car. They said, take it off the lot with a full tank, bring it back with a full tank, and we're done on the fuel. And that's how much fuel you've used. They don't do that these days. They say just bring it back with how much was in before, and what do you know? There's roughly just under half a tank going by the fuel tank indicator. They say it's all right. You don't get anything back if you bring more than that, but we will charge you if there's less than that. How? So they're making probably a couple of litres on every single car hire in that case. They've got to be.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, it's almost like you have to go to the pump, put it in there, leave the switch on, rock the car back and forth, and get it just so it gets to where it's supposed to, and then. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was really, really sneaky, and I just thought that was just a bit underhand. Because, the only reliable way that you could ever end up customer and provider being exactly equal is if the fuel tank was absolutely full when you took it off the lot, and it was absolutely full when you brought it back as well.
I wonder what they would say if you say, okay, you tell me exactly how many gallons or liters are in there, and that's what I'll make sure that's in there when I bring it back.
Exactly. They know they're on a winner with every single tank.
Yeah.
It's written into the contract. I just thought it was really sneaky and...
Well, of course, somebody needs to come up with a way that they can drill a little hole at the top of the tank and stick in a hook and pick up the float, and then it'll show that it's full.
I noticed that virtually no rental car I've ever seen in my entire life has ever been a Saab, because a Saab has, or they used to have, extremely accurate indicators. They actually had it in a litre figure that was on the trip computer.
Wow.
And it's I only know that because I've got one. I've got an old second-hand one here, and I thought, that's why I've never seen a Saab for a car rental.
I don't know how they can do that, because it's always sort of like an estimate. But I guess they could, yeah.
Swedish are clever people. Much underestimated. In fact, that's one of my little pet annoyances recently, is when Saab went out of business, because the technology on their cars was just unbelievable. Absolutely brilliant. It's just little things as well, like auto-dimming rear-view mirrors.
Yep.
You didn't even have to flick a little switch; it just dimmed itself.
Right.
And if you have split folding rear seats, when you put them back up, if you've had them down, you put them back up, and you could never quite understand whether you've located it back in position properly. Yeah.
Yeah.
You had to. The only thing you could do was ram it in really hard, and if there was a satisfying click, you'd be all right. But you were never 100% sure. Well, on Saabs, they had a little indicator stalk on both of the back seats, so that when you got it located in position, the little red indicator disappeared. And it's just brilliant things like that you just, right, now I know the back seat is properly located. Brilliant. And there's just hundreds of
Well,
little
as long
things.
as long as you don't ram it there and you open the door to the trunk.
Well, yeah. There is such a thing as taking it too far. I agree.
Yeah.
But, cars just aren't made considerately for the user at all, and in fact, very, very few things are actually made considerately for the end user of the things. I tend to find more and more stuff is actually made for the benefit of the manufacturer as opposed to the actual consumer at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Oh, and can you think of any recent examples of you thought, wow, that's a good product because it's got so many features that are for the user, not the manufacturer? I bet you'd have to go back a bit in your mind to find something.
That it's good for the user, not for the manufacturer.
Yeah, where you think they didn't need to do that. That's just a good feature for the user.
Yeah, you mean in contrast to pure bloatware, like
Yeah,
for instance,
exactly.
with the Samsung Galaxy, the S4, they loaded up a bunch of features on it, and they're obviously for the consumer. I don't think that the carrier or the manufacturer necessarily benefits from it, but are they features that consumers really need, or is it just bloatware?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, invariably, it's bloatware. They did a report on Watchdog, which is a consumer program over here in the UK regarding I think it was the S4, and they've got 16 gig of RAM, but what's available to the end user is only 9 because of all the bloatware and all the programs and apps and everything else that are running. But Samsung, a good a company as it is, have basically reported back saying that they will look at the apps and what is actually running and try and see if they can claw some of that memory back for use by the consumer, which is a good thing, I think.
Yeah, I've never done a custom ROM, but for that reason that you just stated, I'm getting more serious about considering the idea of running a custom ROM on my Galaxy Note 2. I'm rooted, but I haven't gone so far as to unlock or run a custom ROM. But yeah, it's I look at here and I see all the AT&T apps, and some of those are running in the background. I see some of the Samsung apps that I never use.
Yeah, if it's taking up a little bit of RAM each one of them, then potentially you could put your own apps into it, especially as some of the apps are, well, as with a lot of things, apps are getting slightly bigger and bigger and bigger. It's just going to take up more room. A lot of people have said that, it's okay, you can put a micro SD card in, which is all well and good. That's fine if you want to store music or movies and things like that, but you can't put your apps on the micro SD card. So, you're stumped on that one. You end up having to go and buy the 32 gig.
And that's just one side of the deal. A lot of these bloatware apps from carriers or manufacturers, they will only allow you to verify a secure installation, as they put it, over pay for air. They won't let you do it over your home Wi-Fi connection for for obvious reasons. And you just think it might be fractions of a penny, but over time that builds and it builds and it builds and it builds into a hidden cost.
And of course, the more and more they subsidize the cost of the phones to keep the cost down, which means it's either blatant advertising or some other numpty's useless program that nobody wants anyway, where do you draw the line of saying, well, okay, that's far enough now? You're taking away half of the memory that I thought I was going to get filled with all this rubbish. There you go, Bruce, that I didn't want to begin with. They ought to do a basic version that perhaps you pay a little bit more for, but you've just got a basic entry level, with no crap on it. That's the phone that you've got. You pay perhaps, I don't know, an extra $3 or $4 or $5, say, to get a nice clean version that you don't have to clear out all the rubbish that you don't want. That would be perhaps an incentive for them.
Well, I've been convinced quite recently about this. I've always bought my phones on contract, but the next time I'm buying a bare metal phone and I'm paying up front for it. So from day one, it's mine, and not mine in 2 years' time. And I'm going to have, by doing it that way, I'm going to have the choice to route it. I'm going to have the choice to put in a different SIM card from a different carrier that doesn't have a 2-year tie-in deal to it.
Would you then be interested in Google's I/O announcement about this pure Samsung S4 that will be a pure Nexus, a pure Google Android phone? $649.
I did read about that. Yeah,
I'll be interested in any phone that allows me that freedom and isn't tied to a contract.
the thing is, the average phone is going to be what, $500 or £500 for a decent top of the line smartphone, as we want to call them these days. But of course, with subsidies, if you tie up to a 2-year contract and you get it for nothing. They need to strike a better balance for the people that don't want to sign up for a 2-year contract, and the people that do want to actually buy it outright. £500 is ridiculous. $500 is ridiculous.
Well, the thing is, they've convinced people that the phone is free when it absolutely is not.
Right.
The only thing you get is the chance to walk out the shop without paying anything.
The idea of ownership is totally alien to what it used to be.
Mm. And it's very much the same with operating systems. I don't think many people understand just how far the operating system manufacturers, such as Apple, such as Microsoft, how far their ownership of what you would normally consider to be your data, your applications, your music, your photographs. I don't think people quite realize just how deep the ownership by the software manufacturers is on those products.
Yeah, look at Adobe. They're switching over to a monthly fee instead of selling the Photoshop and all the other products that they do. They're planning on switching across to a monthly fee, which is all well and good, I think, if you're in business. But as an individual that needs to use it as a one-off thing or just occasionally, it's probably going to be a good thing. But I think for businesses, having to pay a monthly fee long-term, that's going to work out quite a lot more expensive, I reckon.
Oh, it is. And the astonishing thing is it's just how much pull these people have in the market. Last year, I did some free contracting work for Airbus, the aircraft manufacturers, and it was all to do with software licensing on CAD and 3D modeling software. And the software companies know very, very well how dependent even big businesses are on their software products. And they will even have big corporations like Airbus over a barrel on very many issues, and have no hesitation whatsoever in gouging those kind of companies for as much money as they can hoist off them. So what chance the average consumer has against these same companies is very debatable. You've got to watch out for yourself.
Yeah, I agree. I'm seeing Bruce speaking, but there's no audio coming from Bruce. I'm just wondering whether he's talking to somebody else or not.
Yeah, Bruce.
I'm
You okay now?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was actually talking to somebody in the Tech and Coffee, Hank.
Okay.
So.
I saw your mouth moving, and I thought, is it supposed to be coming through here or not? And I was expecting a bit of a latency and thinking, Bruce's voice is going to come through any second, and it wasn't. And I was going, oh, my head's hurting.
Yeah. So
Bruce's smile should be enough.
The shadow of your smile. Or when we were talking about brother printers, I was really tempted to bring this song up. Oh, brother, where art thou?
Are you bringing it up now?
Oh, I'm sorry, you couldn't hear that?
Pink Floyd,
No.
wasn't it?
Oh, I'm sorry, it's gone now. It's funny, it's really strange. There's audio is really, really. There you go. Thank you. Now let's see.
Higher.
Were you able to hear that?
Not really.
I like it.
Yeah, not particularly clearly. It sounded like something country-ish.
It was Man of Constant Sorrow. It's. Oh, I see why. Okay, I was having some audio problems earlier. You can still hear me now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Hey.
That's better.
I am a man of constant sorrow.
see, that sounds like a Windows 8 user, a Man of Constant Sorrow.
Ooh.
Oh, you beat me.
Just a little tip on that one while we're on the subject of that kind of music. I've down the grapevine, I've recently heard that a film about Levin Helm is going to be released. Levin Helm from the band and Bob Dylan's band.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a film about his life going to be released soon, and I've heard it's going to be very, very good and worth watching.
Okay.
Well, speaking about films, as you mentioned,
Wait. Let Steve say. What, Steve?
So, as you mentioned about films, I heard somebody talking this week. I don't know what program it was, but it was something I happened across on the television. That Star Wars was sold to Disney, wasn't it? Apparently, they're going to be making the Star Wars movies in England, which is awesome.
Bruce?
Yeah, I was just saying I'm going to have to back out of here in just about a minute, so I just wanted to...
Yeah, it's already noon. I think we're getting into a pattern where we really, we deliver what we promise without any extras. 9 till noon.
Yeah. 3 hours, that's a lot of tech talk.
Yeah, it is. But you see, in the beginning we went 4 hours and 5 hours, and I think people just wanted more and more because we were so limited on the radio. But yeah, that's
I think
fine.
it depends as well. The way the topic's going, and also who's participating. Sometimes somebody will come up with either something that's controversial, or that piques the interest of the participants as well, and it can go on for an extra half an hour. But summer's coming, isn't it? People want to get out in the garden if they're garden minded.
Yep. That's
all right,
what I'm
you guys
do.
have a great rest of the weekend.
You too.
All right,
You too, Bruce.
Take care.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye. All right. So, unless anybody has anything else to add here, we'll sign off.
No, thanks, Amnon. You have a good week.
Thank you.
Take care. See you soon.
Take care, Esther. And good morning, Kathy, Hannah, Nabil, Mac, Norm, Katie, and Donna. Thank you for tuning to Computers 2K Now. We hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something from our time together. And remember, practice safe computing, back up your hard drive, update your virus scanner. We'll be back here next Sunday at 9, but you can always reach us at computers2know.com. While you're at it, like us on Facebook by clicking the button on the lower left. Remember, tonight at 8 o'clock, it is Carrie's Psychic Cafe. Carrie will answer questions and entertain us with psychic readings. That's 8 till 9. And tomorrow morning at 11, it is Debbie Brock and the Health Inn, talking about homeopathy and alternative medicine. talk to you next week. Take care, everybody.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. Our weekly lineup of call-in programs includes Computers 2K Now with Amnon Nissan, Sundays 9 a.m. till noon. Carrie's Psychic Cafe with Carrie Silkowski, Sundays 8 till 9 p.m. Health Inn with Debbie Bruck, Mondays 11 a.m. till noon. Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon, Mondays 8 till 9 p.m. Reawaken Your Brilliance with Julie Seibert, Wednesdays 9 till 10 p.m. And if you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it at www.nissancommunications.com. Sponsored by ThatVidBlasterGuy.com, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.